Okay, guten Tag alle, Herr Wallace here. This is part 2 of our videos on how to find the correct adjective ending. We are just discussing the cases. In our previous video, we discussed the nominative and the accusative. Now we're going to move on to the dative. The dative case in German is for the indirect object of a sentence, or comes after a dative preposition. This could be also by mit, nach Zeit von zu, and there are some others, or after one of the so-called two-way prepositions in German, the Wechselpräpositionen, and they show that when you show where something is. So if it's static or there's no movement, then it's dative, or think dead is dative. So I am in the room, that's where I'm located at, it's dative. So with definite articles in the dative, der will change to dame, die will change to der, like die Frau, das will change to dame, like Kind, and in the dative plural, the die Frauen changes to dame. The good news about the dative is that the adjective is always en. So ich bringe dem alten Mann ein Buch, ich bringe der alten Frau ein Buch, ich bringe dem kleinen Kind ein Buch, ich bringe den alten Frauen die Bücher. Okay, now if we are switching over to indefinite articles, sie tanzt mit. Mit is a dative preposition, so that's giving us our dative case here. And der words change to dame, so we actually take the em from dame and we can kind of think of it as putting it on the indefinite article, making it einem. The der, die changes to der, so the er onto eins, making it einer for feminine nouns. And for das, changing to dame, we take the em, put it on the ein for neuter nouns. But again, the adjectives are all en. The genitive in German, German harkens back in a lot of ways to Old English, and this is one sort of case of that. Even though we have the genitive in English too, it's not really, we don't think of it sometimes like this. We just use the apostrophe, which is genitive, but nobody in America, or rarely do, except for grammar nerds, might know that. But so the genitive is for showing possession in German. So it's almost like you say the car of my brother. So das Auto meines Bruders. Or you could say das ist mein Bruders Auto. And in German they would not use the apostrophe as another way of kind of indicating possession, especially with people's names, like das ist Hans's Auto or Michael's Auto. But also for in English, when we form constructions with of the, this is using the genitive. So in the genitive, der changes to des, die to der, and das to des. The good news is the adjective endings are all en, just like they were in the dative. If you're at all unfamiliar with any of these cases, we have videos over each of these cases, and I would encourage you to probably look at that. But just to recap, if it's a der or das word, masculine or feminine word, or I'm sorry, masculine or neuter noun that has is one syllable long, in German in the genitive you're going to add es to it. So Sturm, one syllable long, Sturm ist. So das ist das Ende des langen Sturmes, oder das ist das Ende der langen Klasse, das ist das Ende des langen Buches. If it is more than one syllable long in a masculine or neuter noun, you're just going to add an s. So let's look at some indefinite articles in the genitive. Here we have ein, so I'm taking the es, adding it onto ein, making it eines. I'm still keeping the en ending on the adjective, and the noun following adds an es, or an s in this case since it's one syllable long, an es. Okay, so my assignment for my students was for you to write your own examples of each case, and the nominative, accusative, dative, and genitive. If you have to, back the video up and go over them, and then use different nouns, one masculine noun, one feminine noun, and one neuter noun rather. And for each one, describe it with definite articles. Then use the indefinite articles and see if you can come up with your own chart like the ones I showed you here, and you filling in the correct endings. This would be a good way for you to practice getting to know these endings. Okay, vielen Dank für das Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, dass das ein bisschen hilfreich war. Vielen Dank. Tschüss.